Hi, everybody. Encyclopedia Nick here. Welcome to my channel. It's Saturday night. It's May 21st, the second official day of spring. And tonight, live on YouTube, I just wanted to have a little Fab Four fun and let you know my top nine killer Beatles B-sides on record. Now, these are not really in any particular order, except for the last one. And you may know what that is already. But here are my top nine killer Beatles B-sides. Number nine is Old Brown Shoe. And this one George Harrison wrote in 1969 during the Get Back, Let It Be film sessions. And you could see him in the Get Back film working the song out on piano, which he said he hardly ever used the piano. He hardly ever wrote a song on piano first. It was mostly the guitar. But this is the picture sleeve for the Ballad of John and Yoko and Old Brown Shoe. And if you look at the other side, there's the Old Brown Shoe right in the corner, right there on the front. And it's such a great song. I mean, I learned it many years ago on, it was on the Blue album. It was on the 1967 to 1970 album, but I learned it on the Hey Jude album, which came out in February of 1970. And that album is mostly singles and B-sides that didn't make it onto albums. And that's an excellent collection. If you ever can get your hands on that, there's plenty of copies out there that you can get. It's even on CD now in the American box set of the American releases that have come out on CD pretty recently in the last 5 years or so. And it's a really, really great song. I mean, George's, I mean, it starts off with a great bass line. I mean, it's terrific. And I believe it's George on bass. Um, or actually, Mark Lewis and I think George is on piano. I know that. And he's on bass as well. And it opens up with a great bass line. And then you have the staccato piano come in and George's vocals and Ringo's drums. Now, there's two different uh, lineups, they say, on this song. Now, Mark Lewis in the Beatles recording sessions say that all four Beatles are on it. And the other one says that it's only John, Paul, and Ringo on it. John, Paul, and George. And Paul is on drums because Ringo was filming the Magic Christian in Twickenham Studios. But I would go along with the Mark Lewison recording studios, the recording sessions book, because I think he is the guru on what went on at Abbey Road, or EMI Studios as it was called. So here it is, Apple Records, 1969, Ballad of John and Yoko, and Old Brown Shoe, the B-side. Here we have Baby You're a Rich Man from the Beatles. 1967 was released in July of 1967. And this is the new single that was promised to Beatles fans in 1967. And they said that they would be two new tracks, none from Sergeant Pepper's, because, there was a rule in the UK that they couldn't release singles on albums as well. The singles were always separate from the albums. But they did put Baby You're a Rich Man and All You Need Is Love on the Magical Mystery Tour LP that was released here November 27th, 1967. But I love this B-side. I've loved this since I've heard the Magical Mystery Tour album. And this is such a cool picture sleeve for this. I mean, it shows the four of them from the inside of Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. But they were really past Sergeant Pepper's when they did both of these songs. It's good. It's great. I mean, it's like what they call freak beat in England, which is also known as psychedelia. And this is the original single, Capitol label, the Orange Yellow Swirl, from '67, and is Baby You're a Rich Man, right there on the Orange Yellow Swirl label. And I remember looking at this 45 when I first started going to flea markets and seeing all these 45s, and unfortunately not being able to afford them because there were $5 back then and only five with the picture sleeves. And I was only 13 at the time, so I really didn't have that. The allowance didn't really cover that. So I really had to wait until much later on until I could afford these 45s. So there you go. That's number nine. And these are not really like in listening order, but just as I have them here, except for the last one. Here's one. It's a great song. I should have known better. From the Beatles, 1967 on Capitol Records. It came from the A Hard Day's Night album, which was released on United Artists, not Capitol, until it was reissued many years later. And here's the B side. I should have known better on A Hard Day's Night. That's such a beautiful full color picture sleeve of them on the Ed Sullivan Show, snippets from like the Ed Sullivan Show and possibly Ringo drumming in Washington D.C. Because most of the pictures here are from the 1964 Ed Sullivan Show and in full color. Yeah, this is one of John Lennon's best. It's John in the early days as his most happy-go-lucky, I think, the very innocent time that John Lennon had in the beginning, before Beatlemania really took off. And it's such a beautiful song. I love the harmonica. The mono mix is great. And especially even before that, Baby You're a Rich Man, like I was saying before, the Baby You're a Rich Man in mono is just, the mono single version is just terrific. And I mean, it's completely different. I mean, there's so much phasing going on, and it's more psychedelic than the stereo version. Now, the stereo version I like too, because I did grow up hearing. While I heard the fake stereo version on the stereo album of Magical Mystery Tour, but it wasn't until recently. Well, it was made into stereo in 1971. A true stereo mix was made in 1971 for the German pressing of Magical Mystery Tour. All the songs on that particular pressing, until the stereo ones came out later, in the last 5-10 years, that it was in true stereo for the first time. That George Martin created specific stereo mixes for that album, and we didn't get specific stereo mixes until the first CD version of Magical Mystery Tour, which was released in 1987, along with the other Beatles CDs that were released in mono. The first few were in mono, and then the rest of them were stereo. But I liked hearing the stereo mix for the first time, but I think it's very clean. I think it's not, I don't want to say clinical, but it's very clean. And I still think the mono mix trumps it. You could hear the clavioline that John is playing. It's a mono plug-in operated keyboard, which he has like the hurdy-gurdy sounds in the middle, and he's using an orange to just roll over, or a tennis ball rolling over the keys on the front of it, or on the top of it itself. And it just goes along with the song so well. I love the vocals. I love the harmonies. Uh, the fade on the 45 is much longer than the has a longer fade than the stereo, the full stereo mix. The version that was on the original Magical Mystery Tour albums from 1967 to, well, those are the originals, but all the way up until 1980, 1983, there were all fake stereo. I mean, some of the songs were true stereo. I Am the Walrus is fake, goes to fake stereo. Hello Goodbye was stereo. Strawberry Fields Forever was in true stereo. Penny Lane, not, I don't think. I think it was just a fake stereo of it. It was, like a double mono, as were Baby You're a Rich Man as well. All You Need Is Love, I believe, was a true stereo mix on that album. And the next we have is Revolution, the single version on Apple Records, 1968. And what's so cool about this is that both the songs Hey Jude and Revolution are in original mono mixes. They're not fold downs from stereos. These are original mono mixes that they put, on record in 1968, when it came out it was their first single on Apple Records in the UK and in the United States. So, but I love the mono Revolution single. The guitar in the beginning is so distorted. It's like it's so loud. It's like, do I want to say it's heavy metal? that phrase is thrown around. That genre is thrown around so much about who was heavy metal first. Was it Zeppelin? Was it the Beatles? Was it the Who? But I mean, the single version of Revolution. I mean, the opening guitar is so distorted in such a great way, and then it's just like Lennon, just like like they're rolling, like you could feel it in the mono mix all coming out, in one punch. Ringo's drums are really like, you could tell they're in the studio, that they're all doing, their thing at once, and you have Nicky Hopkins on piano. He's not credited on the record itself, but he is on the piano break, the piano instrumental break. I mean, he played for everybody, Nicky Hopkins. If you wanted, he was like, if anybody needed a piano player for a rock and roll session, they would get him, and he would just come in and play. But it's a great version, and Lennon said it himself. I think he summed it all up when he said that when he said when they mixed it for stereo, Revolution. Now, to be fair, the first version I heard of Revolution was in stereo. On Hey Alley Cat, how you doing? We're talking about my top 9 Beatles 45s tonight. My top 9 Beatles B-sides, if you will. Uh, if in case you're, I don't know if you started off with it. If you just got in, I'll just I'll update you. I'll update you on what I was talking about. These are my top 9, and because of John Lennon's fascination. Oh, you just woke up. Okay, well then I'm just gonna have to brief you then, shall I? Thanks for showing up tonight. Let's see. So we're doing top 9 instead of top 10 because there's a lot of references to the number 9. First of all, John Lennon was born on 9 Newcastle Road. 2, he was born on October 9th. Number 3, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9. So I'm going to start off. I'll just keep you up to speed. What I started off with tonight was Old Brown Shoe, the B side of the Ballad of John and Yoko, and it's a great song that George Harrison wrote. He wrote it in the film to get. You could see him in the Get Back film, writing it on the piano. Normally he wrote all his songs on guitar, and he's playing bass on it, and it's got a great bass lead in it. It's terrific, and then you have the piano come in all staccato like that. And the next one I had was "Baby You're a Rich Man," and this is the picture sleeve for it. And like it's one of my favorite Beatles B sides because it's got so much psychedelia in it and what they call freak beat in England, as a substitute for psychedelia, they called it freak beat in England. And this is the Beatles. They recorded this after the Sergeant Pepper sessions, and this was the new song that they put out in 1967, their new single. When they announced the single in the summer of '67, they said it would be 2 brand new songs and not from the Sergeant Pepper's album because in England it was a no-no to put singles on albums because then you had to buy the same thing twice. And the Beatles knew that, and they never wanted to cheat their fans out of money. So these were 2 great songs that stood alone by themselves until they were put on the 1967 album Magical Mystery Tour, the full-length Magical Mystery Tour album in the United States. And it has like, one side of the tracks from the "Hey Bill, what's happening, buddy? Good to see you, man." This was released in November on album. The first 6 songs on the Magical Mystery Tour LP are from the Magical Mystery Tour movie, which was only shown in the United States, excuse me, on the BBC in 1967, on Boxing Day, which was the day after Christmas, 1967, and it didn't do very well. First of all, because they showed it in black and white, and the movie was shot in color. So it didn't do too well, and they did it themselves. They directed it themselves. They came up with the material themselves, and it's more of an artsy film. I do enjoy it. I haven't watched it in a while, but there are people that completely panned the movie. It was a 53-minute film. It was a TV show, and the music is terrific. I mean, neither one of these songs are in the movie, but it was they were tracks on the other side of the original album that came out over here. In England, they released it as a 245 EP, with just the 6 songs from the movie on it. From Magical Mystery Tour, Fool on a Hill, Flying, Blue Jay Way, Your Mother Should Know, and I Am the Walrus. And that was it. Those are the only songs. But at the end of the movie, you hear the coda to Hello Goodbye, which wasn't really it, which was you hear it at the end in the film, but it's not. It's on the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour, and it was also released as a single. Hello Goodbye and I Am the Walrus was the B-side. So that's that one. Here we have I Should Have Known Better, which is the B-side of A Hard Day's Night. And this is a full color. I love the full color picture of the Beatles on here. Some of the pictures are from the Ed Sullivan Show, and I think Ringo's photo here is from the Washington D.C. show, which they did in 1964. It was the first live performance they gave in a outside arena, if you will, the Washington Coliseum. It was in Washington D.C., which is no longer there. It's a landfill. They say now. It's pretty sad if you think about it, because the Washington D.C. concert in the Coliseum was pretty much an historic event, even as it was happening in February of '64. So this was like John Lennon. I mean, the Beatles at the most happy-go-lucky uh, before Beatlemania really started crashing in. And John sounds so happy on this record. Like it's a nice song. It's a great harmonica, great vocals. I mean, it just has, and of course George's 12-string solo on it in it, and that influenced a lot of people to get into music. I mean, it influenced the Byrds because they saw the movie A Hard Day's Night and they saw George with the 12-string guitar, and that's what influenced Jim McGuinn, aka Roger McGuinn, to pick up a 12-string and get the band and get the Byrds together. So, but what I love this single, A Hard Day's Night, and I Should Have Known Better. But I like It Should Have Known Better a little, a little more. But I know when they played this on, I don't know much about the Beatles like you do, so it's so fun listening to you explain things and give little history lessons. I love it. Interesting choice. Thank you, Ali. Uh, so yeah, I like this was played on American Bandstand in 1964, and it was like, which side did you like better? So they played both sides. They played A Hard Day's Night, and the kids were dancing to it, and then they played I Should Have Known Better, and they danced to it too. And then they said, which one do you like the best? And they all chose A Hard Day's Night. They thought I Should Have Known Better wasn't much of a dancing song, but I think it's a groove. I always do. And it's this is one of the most beautiful picture sleeves that came out. And I was so lucky to get this at a great price with a nice capital sleeve to put the record in. Okay, now we have the Beatles' Revolution from 1968, the end of the summer 1968. Uh, hey Jude is the A side, and you got Revolution on the B side. And what I was saying before was Revolution and Hey Jude are both in the original mono mixes. They're true mono mixes that they made for radio. It was the last single to be released in mono in the United States, whereas Get Back was the last one to be released in mono in England. But this is the first record, a first single on Apple Records to be released both in the United States and UK. And Revolution in mono is just a completely different listening experience than stereo. The opening guitar riff, uh, the distorted guitar, I should say, is much more distorted. I mean, and then when Ringo hits the drum beat, if he hits the snare, it's like boom, like thunder, and John singing is like, like he's really like shouting in your ear. I mean, he recorded the vocals laying down on the floor. So, you know, the guitar solo sounds much distorted. The piano solo by Nicky Hopkins, who was a big session player. He played for Quicksilver Messenger Service. He played for the Beatles. You name it, he played on it. So anytime they needed a guy to play piano on a in the '60s in the studio, it was like he was the guy if he was around. So, but Revolution in mono is terrific. I mean, I of course I first heard both of these songs in stereo the first time. Um, this is the full 7-11 minute mix of Hey Jude on here. 7 minutes and 11 seconds, right down to the end when you can hear a little bit of the bass at the end, And the deal, I heard it stereo. I heard it in stereo. I heard both songs in stereo on the Blue album, the compilation from 1973, and the Hey Jude album, also known as the Beatles Again, which came out in 1970. All of those songs were in true stereo, and I heard it in true stereo, and I liked it in true stereo. But after hearing the single version in mono, I agree with Lennon because Lennon said Lennon was so disappointed when they made this into stereo. He said they took a heavy record and turned it into ice cream. So there you have it, really. That he doesn't have to say too much about that. I mean, yeah, the stereo separation is great on the album, but I mean, the mono mix is just, I mean, we're just plain old rock and roll. And I said before, to catch you guys up a little bit here, it's, uh, you know, I like the way that they wanted it, but like I said, I heard these songs in stereo. It's a nice separation, though. I mean, the instruments are separated very nicely, but I gotta go. I gotta go with the mono single mix because it's such a great version to hear. If you guys haven't heard it, it's on YouTube. You can hear it. Any basically any single version of any Beatles song you can hear on YouTube now. So never mind the copyright crap. So this is a real excellent single, and it says the Beatles on Apple. There was no picture sleeve for Hey Jude in the United States. There were in other countries, but instead of a picture sleeve for the United States, it said the Beatles on Apple. Or it would have like an Apple sleeve. It would just have a black sleeve with a green word written in script that just said Apple, or the Beatles on Apple. So that's that one. And then we have, let's see if I have another one here. Yeah, here we go. We have the Beatles' Help. I'm Down is the B side of Help, and it was not on an album until the 1976 compilation Rock and Roll Music, which was a double LP, and it had this on there. All the songs were remixed on that LP compilation. Like the channels were switched. George Martin did something to the channels to make it sound different. But because why else would you buy on the greatest hits record? So I'm Down is like Paul at his best Little Richard style vocal. I mean, it's just it was never on an original album. I mean, here's an original picture sleeve of Help and I'm Down. It's them standing, posing for like on the set of the movie Help. That was in this photo is from Nassau in the Bahamas. And like I love the single version of Help is even different on here too. The vocal is different. And it doesn't start off with the James Bond intro like it does on the Help album or on the Red 1962 to 1966 compilation, which came out in 1973 as the Blue compilation. But I love I'm Down. I mean, it's got to be one of my favorites. When I wrote for a magazine years ago, from 2011 to 2017, I wrote a lot of B-sides in those 6 years. And I think the best one I wrote was about I'm Down. Okay, even though my favorite one's going to come up at number one, I think this was the best one I wrote about. I think it was because in the beginning, when I wrote about B-sides, I was writing a lot of facts about the songs. And then I said to myself, I got to put myself in these articles. I have to put what it means to me, how it affects me, what it does to me. And this song is just like, oh my God, it's just plain rock and roll. They went crazy with the song in Shea Stadium in 1965. It was one of the best live performances ever. When you see John and George, John is jamming on the electric piano, and George is on the guitar with him. and they're just smiling at each other like they're having the time of their life, which they were. I mean, that was like the epitome of a live show. Now, on the bonus material of the movie 8 Days a Week, the Beatles during the live days, I have the DVD, the Blu-ray, but there is no extra Beatles at Shea Stadium that they released in the theater after the 8 Days a Week film, which Ron Howard did. They put the original 25-minute concert of them at Shea, yes, only 25 minutes. They only played 25 minutes. And the original soundtrack was back in the film. Like they restored the original 1965 concert in it because other films of it, it was all overdubbed. They had to go, they went back into the studio and overdubbed everything because that night a lot of people could not hear them. You saw them, but you barely could hear them if you could hear them. That's how it was. And, they had to know where they were in the songs. John looking at Paul and Paul looking at Ringo and, finding out where they were in the songs because they couldn't hear themselves. But that was like the pinnacle of the live stuff. I mean, they did perform live for another year and they did do Shea Stadium again in 1966, but it wasn't the same. There were 10,000 fans less at that one than it was 55,000 plus in 1965, and there was 45,000 in 1966. I mean, big deal. But that was after the Lennon statement, we're more popular than Jesus. So, and Ringo went on record as saying, "Oh, so you mean we only had 45,000 people instead of 55? Oh, wow. Well, we're hurt, So that's Ringo for you, But I'm Down is one of my favorites. I mean, his the vocal, the mono mix is 10 times better. It's got a longer fade. It's just plain rock and roll. And this was actually recorded at the same session that Paul McCartney did Yesterday for. So to talk about two contrasting different moods, two contrasting moods and music and sound. And I believe they also did I've Just Seen a Face at the same session. And it's amazing how you could go from Little Richard style, to a ballad like Yesterday, or a folk ballad, a folk song ballad like I've Just Seen a Face, all at the same session in 1965. It's amazing. It is brilliant. That's a copy. Here's another one now. I Am the Walrus. Okay. One of my favorite B-sides of all time, and one of my favorite Beatles songs of all time. The mono mix is completely different than the stereo mix. This has like a pause before Lennon sings "Yellow Matted Custard dripping from a dead dog's eye," and that's the only way you could get it until they re-released it on rarities in 1980, but in a stereo mix that Capitol made. But here's the original picture sleeve for it. Hello, Goodbye, and on the other side, I Am the Walrus. But I like I Am the Walrus a lot. But it was decided that Hello, Goodbye would be the A side because commercially. But really, if you take Hello, Goodbye and I Am the Walrus, it still is a double A side by them. Both sides got equal airplay, but Hello, Goodbye did go to number one. And I Am the Walrus, I'm sure did chart, just not as high. But I think that I Am the Walrus is one of John's best. He actually wrote I Am the Walrus in response to people that would write in and analyze the songs he wrote. So in other words, he wrote this one instead of have at it, people. He just analyzed this. He didn't care. It was like, and what is it? I mean, it's all different. How could you come up? Who else would come up with Semolina Pilchard climbing up the Eiffel Tower, Elementary Penguin singing Hare Krishna? Man, you should have seen them kicking Edgar Allan Poe. Who could come up with those kind of lyrics? Who could get away with those kind of lyrics? And it's also in the movie Magical Mystery Tour. It's a great production number in there. It really is, when they're all dressed up in the costumes and all that. And Paul McCartney even said, if a Magical Mystery Tour, if only for that reason, you get an excellent Everybody oompa. Okay, well, yeah, but when it starts off, it goes oompa oompa, stick it up your joompa, and then you hear oompa oompa, everybody oompa, and then it goes into got one, everybody's got one. Never mind the people who thought that said it, that they said smoke pot, everybody smokes pot. That's not what they were saying. That's what people were trying to tell me. Oh, you know what they hear at the end? Smokes pot. Everybody, no, uh-uh. Nope, zip, you're wrong. Have a nice day. Go sit in the corner. You're done. Yeah, I know that there was some alternate state of consciousness while some of these songs were written, but why does it make sense? Tell me. Now here's an early one. Okay, this is going back to 1963, and this is "There's a Place" from the Beatles, the B side of "Twist and Shout." It was originally released on a Tally label in 1963 in the United States, but it did not make any headway until on an album until 1965 when the early Beatles was released and Twist and Shout was on that. So I'm well, Twist and Shout, but There's a Place was on a 1964 album called Introducing the Beatles. Twist and Shout wound up being on that too, but then when Capitol got a hold of it, it was on a 1965 album called The Early Beatles, which had Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You, Do You Want to Know a Secret, Chains, uh, Boys, which was a Shirelles tune that the Beatles covered, A Taste of Honey, Please Please Me, Baby It's You. But There's a Place is a really good song from John. I mean, it's ahead of its time. It's just about him being where he could go in his mind and just everything else shuts off. But the harmonies on this is amazing. I first heard this in stereo. I think it was in stereo. There's a Place on the Beatles Rarities album. I want to say it was stereo, but on here it is true stereo. Well, I mean, singing on one side and the music on the other. But yeah, this is a Capitol reissue. I like this label. I don't have the Tolly one, but I did see it at the record shop the other day. It was kind of beat up, but I didn't pick it up. I have the LP. I have this single. You know, it's really really cool. Both songs are in real stereo, and it's nice to hear them in stereo. It's nice to hear There's a Place in stereo. I do have the Introducing the Beatles album, and I also have all of the original. I also have all of the original mono albums that came out as the box set, the Beatles and mono. I mean, it's not the original copies, but it's the re-releases of the original UK albums, which had more songs than the Capitol albums in the United States. But I grew up with the Capitol albums. I did not grow up with the UK albums. I didn't know about the UK albums until my early teens, and I saw them in Record Town in Woodbridge Mall, circa 1983. So, and they were $20 then. So, I mean, and they were re-releases too. Even back then, they weren't the original 1963 albums. I mean, those you had to go to shows for and all that. So my next one here is there is a picture sleeve for this, but this is just the record with the Capitol sleeve. It is The Inner Light, the Beatles. George Harrison wrote this. He recorded it in Bombay in early 1968. And it was the last single to be released on Capitol Records in the United States and on Parlophone in the UK. It was the last single to be released on both of those labels before Apple. Now, I first heard this in mono on the Rarities album in 1980, and the mono mix is completely different than what's on the stereo. The stereo was officially released on a compilation called Past Masters Volume 2. And it was the original. It was a different stereo mix. Like the percussion comes in at a different time. Uh, and the Inner Light in mono is a completely different mix of it. I actually have the backing track for it as a bonus track on the Beatles White Album collection because they did record the backing track during those sessions or before those sessions. It's used as a bonus track because it's just a backing track. It's not the song itself. Um, that's going to be found on Past Masters, the Mono Masters part, also as well as the Past Masters, the Stereo Masters, Past Masters Volume 2, which has all the songs that were released in stereo or some that were in rechanneled stereo, like Love Me Do. There is no true mix of Love Me Do. I know Giles Martin did a remix of Love Me Do along with the song Now and Then. For anybody that's wondering, I did not buy Now and Then. And the remix of Love Me Do is absolutely no different than whatever other version of Love Me Do is out there. It doesn't sound stereo at all. It doesn't sound remixed. They just left it, I think, the way it is and maybe panned it a little bit from left to right. But there's not any true stereo version of Love Me Do. So, yet, anyway, unless they start making another mix. But Inner Light, I love the lyrics to it. I think it's one of George Harrison's finest moments on record as a Beatle. Um, the Inner Light, the farther one travels, the less one knows. The less one really knows. And there's so many different Indian instruments on here. And there's only a of John and Paul on backing vocals when he says at the all, see all without doing, do all without doing. On the do all without doing, you hear John and Paul on it. And that's the only part you hear John and Paul on. I don't think Ringo was on this session either on percussion. It's all Indian instruments. And he was in Bombay recording the instrumental track for it. And I've heard the session for it. It's beautiful. I mean, the song by itself without the lyrics is beautiful. I mean, McCartney even said, forget the Indian music. He said, isn't it a beautiful passage? It's beautiful. He said, hey, what's up there, buddy boy? What's going down in the town? How's everything? Everything's good here? We're doing good. I'm glad you guys can join me tonight. It was just off the cuff to do this tonight. And I'm glad everybody's here on a Saturday night. I hope everybody had a good day. It was pretty nice. The sun was out. And it got a little windy after a while. Yep, all is well, man. How you doing? Andrew, what's cooking, man? Tell me something good. Yeah, Andrew lives. Why? What happened? Oh God, I feel like I got something. Uh, you know, there's something I don't know that I'm probably gonna learn pretty soon. But yeah, but to get back to the Inner Light, I think it's one of his best singles. The mono mix is terrific of it, and you can even do transcendental meditation to this song, and it really, really does, clear the mind. When you listen to it, it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful song. The mono mix, I think Trump. Did Trump the stereo? Well, I heard the mono mix first on Rarities, so I have a special place in my heart for that one. Okay, now, drum roll, please. My all-time favorite Beatles B-side. And here's the reissue that they put out in the 1970s in the UK with cardboard picture sleeves. Rain. Rain will always be my all-time favorite song, single, and record by any artist or any group. It's just the way it is, man. Paperback Writer in Rain, and here's a picture of them doing the Paperback Writer in Rain films to promote the record. Ringo's drums are amazing on this song. I mean, he said that he never was able to play that style again. He said he came in one day into the studio, he said, and it was the best he ever played. He said, and he was never able to play that again after that day. Whether he had the drums set up differently, the way he plays on the song is really what makes the song. But of course, I think it's the Beatles' first dip into psychedelia. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Great to see you. So glad everybody came in here tonight. It's so great. Let's see. Yeah, well, John, and it's the first album to have backwards vocals on it. Not when you play it backwards, but at the end, John is singing backwards. It was the last. Yeah, but yeah, I guess they did see it, but I did put it in the self promo. So I don't know how you saw it first because I put it in the self promo. Yeah, I got that fresh haircut. Yeah, I needed to. Andrew, it's not even funny that. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Aaron. I love it. You helped. Allie, you always help. You always do. You're not number two. You're number one. Is your number one up there? All right. Well, now you're number two down here. So I don't know what happens. Uh, darn right. Okay. At least you didn't say damn right. Could have said that too. But yeah, my hair needed it badly. I mean, I do the tea tree treatment, shampoo, and then the conditioner. And I mean, it makes your hair just come alive. It really does. And it was just getting so long. I mean, my friends would tell me, you got to leave it long and long in the back and all that. I'm like, yeah, I shower, I put the mousse on, I comb it. But then when I wake up the next day, it looks like I stuck my finger inside a socket. My hair's all over the place. Then I try to do the mousse again. I try to brush it back, and it just doesn't. It sticks out here. It sticks out there, and I'm like, I needed to get this trimmed down with a number two razor. I mean, that was it. I mean, I have to do it if after a while. Plus, I think I look better this way. You know, I like this much better. I think it's much more collegiate, if you will. Been a long time since I've been in college, but I like the way it makes me look. It's a fresh haircut, and my friend that does my hair, she does a great job. I mean, she uses the tea tree as well, and she got me into using it. Actually, a friend of mine years ago, she said, and I had such dry scalp all over, and I'm like, what? I'm using good shampoo, and she's like, no, use the tea tree. She says, use that. There's a shampoo and there's a conditioner for it. So I use that. That's all it is. I mean, and it makes your hair come alive. It does. It really does. The scalp feels so soothed and clean. And you don't got to use a dollop of each. That's the thing. Shampoo is green and the conditioner is white. So that's I like it much more like this. So so I'm glad you guys like my hair. So I mean, if you guys know any of these songs that I talked about, if you guys have any favorites, if you guys know these songs, um, it's my top nine I used because the number nine is very significant in Beatle history because John Lennon was born on 9 Newcastle Road. He was born on the 9th of October. And then you got number nine, number nine, number nine. Yeah, the tea tree products are great, Aaron. Yeah, yeah, they work really, really well. Yep, yep, they do. Mhm. I've used so many different shampoos and conditioners. I've used shampoo and conditioner two in one. I thought it would work, but it doesn't. It just doesn't. I mean, no matter how much you do this with it, it just didn't do the thing. It was, I don't know, was it Axe? Yeah, Axe shampoo I was using. Not the cologne Axe or whatever it is, body wash, but the shampoo. And then it was like my friend just turned me on to the tea tree treatment. Got rid of the dry scalp. It looks good. I mean, and I like it a lot. So well, I hope you guys enjoyed the Beatles tonight. But I do if I did put the records back today. I did have them out, but Bill, no, Glass Onion was only on the White Album. I over here anyway. In other countries, Glass Onion might have been on a EP or a single, but in the United States, no. Glass Onion was only on the Double Beatles album, and in the UK as well. I love Glass Onion. Glass Onion is such a great album cut. I love it. There's on the anthology. There's a completely different ending to Glass Onion. Instead of that creeping string thing you hear at the end. It's like looking through a glass onion, and you hear a window crash, a window break, and then you hear it's a goal, it's a goal, it's a goal, like a football, England football game. And I was like, that's pretty weird. Had they put that like down on the Beatles double album, I think it might have worked. But some people thought it was too hokey. So they just left it with like a creeping string set at the end, string section, I should say. And then it goes right into Obadi Obada, which is why, some people say, let me ask you guys this. If you have the Beatles double white album, there have been some there's been some talk over whether that should be a single record instead of a double record. Now, I don't know who started it, but it wasn't like that when it came out. Nobody made it a big deal back then. But over the years, people are saying it should have been a good single record. George Martin, the producer, even said it. He said we could have made a really great single album instead of a double album with a lot of what they said might have been mishmash. But I don't agree with that. George Harrison even said, a lot of some of those songs could have been B-sides or left off the album. But no, I don't think so. Paul McCartney says it best. He says maybe you could think like that, but absolutely no. He says no. He says it sold. It's the Bloody Beatles White Album. Shut up, is what McCartney said. I love it. It's in the anthology. If you could ever see it online, you could see him say it's good. It's the Bloody Beatles White Album. It sold. Shut up. That's it. Nobody made a big deal about this album. I mean, yeah, they made a big deal out of it. The album was #1 for 9 weeks, but nobody made a big deal about the songs back then. Well, it's you got people. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I probably did. Maybe I mentioned it on here on YouTube that I've talked to people about the Beatles White Album, and it's like, oh, the Beatles White Album. It's my favorite album. Only I hate Blackbird. I hate Piggies. I hate Helter Skelter, and I can't stand Revolution 9. Okay, so there's 31 songs on it, including the "Can You Take Me Back Where I Came From." But that's like 4 songs off an album that you say is your favorite album. So explain to me how that album is your favorite if you hate 4 songs off of it. I don't get it. Maybe you think it's a good album, but there's no songs that I hate on that at all. I mean, I know all the dialogue on Revolution 9. Everything. I mean, my friend and I quote that all the time. Rocky Raccoon. Yeah. Yeah, here you go, Andrew. Yes, sir. Rocky Raccoon. That was one of my father's favorites. Don't Pass Me By. I love side 2, which starts off with Martha My Dear. Side 3, which starts off with Birthday. That's like the real raw rock and roll. Side 3 and 4. And then, of course, you have the avant-garde Revolution 9, and then you have Ringo singing Goodnight to top it all off. But the double white album is such a fun album to collect and to listen to. I think it was surprising for them to put out a double album back then, just to have a plain white cover. They just said, let's just make it white. Let's just make art with just white, the color white. And that's what they did. And some of those early copies are numbered. They're stamped with a number. And the Beatles is raised, but it's in white. You could hardly see it back then. It's raised, like you could feel the texture. And some of them were numbered. Mostly the Apple copies were all of the copies on Apple in the early days from like 68 to 69. They were numbered. And then by late 69, 70, they stopped numbering them. So, and it came with the original 4 8x10s, and it had the lyrics poster. And I didn't know that when I first bought the Beatles White Album, because I bought it at age 13 in 1983 at a local flea market. And I had no idea there were 4 8x10s and a lyrics poster. So my very first copy, which is long gone now because I played it to hell and the cover was hell, was all masking tape together. I never kept it, even though it was the lowest stamp number I had. I probably should have kept it for that reason, but the record was just shot. Everything was shot about that, and there was nothing in it. I didn't find one with the poster and the poster and the 4 8x10s until about 1995, down in a place called Princeton Record Exchange in New Jersey, and it was only $9.99. Oh, you're very welcome, Allie. Thanks for get ready for work. Enjoy the night. And we'll talk, I guess, tomorrow, because tomorrow's a Ranger game, yes? And Monday, I think. Perhaps. I think so. Well, Aaron and Andrew know it. Yep. Yeah. Okay. I think. Yeah. Don't worry. I'm still looking for that record for you. I know I have it in my collection. So I know where it is. I got to find it. Andrew, I think, Andrew's going to have the streams for us. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, as far as if we want to switch to a Rangers talk a little bit before I head off. Oh, yeah. Hope work goes great. Yeah. Good night, Allie. Be cool. All right. Good luck to your Devils. Good luck to the Devils the rest of the season. But if we want to switch to take to the ice, like for a few minutes before I chill out for the night, there's something to say about the Rangers. I'm disappointed. That's what I could say. They're dog water. All right. Okay. It's dirty dog water. That's how you get a dirty dog, a dirt water dog. Get yourself a dirt water dog. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They brought back JT Miller, and I think the entire chemistry that they had for 4 straight games uh, just disappeared. But they're going back to their old ways, the coaches. So I don't know what this. Yeah, sit Miller as an experiment. But do you think he's going to go for that? Yeah, have him once since he came back. Yeah, and he's not a great captain. He's just not captain material. It's just that when you go to a job where you see people doing certain things and you just don't think that they're good enough for the job. That's just the reason. They're not good enough for it. He doesn't have leadership qualities. Jonathan Quick has more leadership qualities in the locker room than he ever will. Now, JT was a good player when we first had him in the early days. He was a good player. He was a good team player. He's not a good captain. That's the difference. He's not a good captain. He doesn't hustle on the ice. He doesn't, and that's what they need to do. I mean, he's way behind the puck, no matter where the puck is. He's not in on the action. He's not. He's a ghost of himself or a shell of himself. I mean, and we got to start. We never should have gotten rid of him. Okay, yeah, all right. Well, I'll go along with that too. But you can't. The Rangers. It's not only that it's happened now, Andrew and Aaron. It's been happening since. It's been happening since forever, though, with the history of the franchise. They got Phil Esposito in 1975, 77, and he was 35 years old. He was past his prime with Boston. But they figured, yeah, making blind passes into the middle of the ice. Now that's all over again now, the blind passes. He's doing that, and the whole team is doing it now. They think that you could just, yeah, he's old. Oh, stop. Leave Aaron alone for crying out loud, will you? Aaron, how do you do it? I don't know. It's just the two of yous, I don't know. He's like Abbott and Costello. And that's a big compliment. Aaron, maybe too much pressure? Yes. Either way, not good on the team. No. No, it's not. Some guys, when they get the C on their chest, it doesn't work. Brian Leach had the C on his chest. It didn't really work when he became the captain, Brian Leach. They didn't make the playoffs when he was there. Yeah, I'm sure it's not easy. I'm sure. But it's not easy. Nope. No, it certainly isn't. Uh, really, people said Kreider should have been the captain, but he said the only C he wanted was the cup. And I think that Kreider was the quiet captain. I think. No, I know. We all know he's great. Yes, it is. We all know Andrew's a great guy. I know. And you're great yourself, Aaron. You're all great. Everybody that comes in here and sits with me and talks and chats. And I really had a good time. I'm really glad we all got together tonight. And I mean, next year maybe we could get together for a game. I'd love it. Oh, they're leading the division. The Ducks. But see, the Ducks got more of a cohesive team. That's the thing. Great energy on the team, usually the last off the ice. Yeah, he was. He was. I mean, when Kreider and Mika were together and they were in their prime, they could do no wrong. I mean, when they played. I mean, that was one of the best lines that we had. And it's just that, Eddie Jacquemin said it years ago. He said, Lord Stanley just eluded us. I mean, whether it was injury, whether they just didn't pick up their game, that they didn't take their game to the next level. I mean, Roger Bear said between, yeah, they were amazing. Yes. Um, from 1967 to 1974, Roger Bear said they could have won like 6 or 7 cups. Yeah, I really would like to do one next year. I don't know how you guys go, but I mean, I would go. How I would go is I would take the. How would I go? I used to take my car to the Burger King over here, and that's where the park and ride was to get on the bus to go to Madison Square Garden. I get out at the Port Authority, and exactly what I have to do now is I have to drive over. Okay, you take the bus, then you walk. All right, so you take the bus to the Port Authority and walk from there because that's what I did to get to Madison Square Garden. Other times I took the train in the past. But I took the bus and then got out and walked that night, just with the other Ranger fans on the bus. That's how I know where I'm going. But yeah, that'd be fun next year if we can. We'll try to go to a game, no matter how they're playing. I just want to see another game, and maybe there'll be a team next year that will be there, to root for. I mean, I'm always going to be a fan. I'm going to be a frustrated fan like everybody else. But I mean, we're different over here on stream, the Rant New York Rangers stream. We know what it is, but I mean, if you go on social media, the other social media, I mean, the things that people say about the Rangers, there's more laughing icons on all the articles, and I'm like, I don't know, you guys aren't helping. You don't think that the Rangers, you don't think the Rangers read this shit? I mean, that's right. When in doubt, just follow the Rangers jerseys and talk about the players. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, there's people out there that really just, I mean, they're Ranger fans, yeah, but do you really love the team? Yeah, everyone's a critic about everything nowadays, Andrew. I mean, everything that people liked and everything that was all good. People are like, oh yeah, but yeah, the Beatles are so fucking overrated now. I'm like, they're not overrated. They couldn't be overrated if they tried to be overrated. George Harrison said it. One of the best Beatles quotes is he said, George, if we knew we were going to be the Beatles, we would have tried harder. There you go. That was inside Reader's Digest. I'll never forget that quote. I love those quotes in there. And there was another, yeah, we have a right to criticize them. Yes, absolutely. Yes, we have a right to criticize them and to be frustrated and to be disgusted, like any team's fans. What do you can't look at teams through rosy colored glasses. It's the same thing with the Yankees. Yeah, great quote, right, Aaron? Yeah. The Beatles are legendary. I mean, I talked to one, I don't know if you guys know who the Young Rascals or the Rascals were. Felix, they did this song Good Lovin'. It was a big hit, Groovin'. When I interviewed Felix Cavalieri for a Rascals song for a newspaper I worked for 6 years, he said to me, no matter what, any station, no matter what station you were, had to play a Beatles song. You had to. Whether or not you liked them or you loved them, you hated them, you abhorred them, you despised them. You had to do your job as a DJ. If they said play a Beatles song, you played one. That was it. Whether it was a country station, whether it was because they followed all sorts of genres. I mean, if you played it on a pop station, if you played it on a rock station, if you played it on a classical, well, you'd play Eleanor Rigby, but they were, you know, you had to do it. That's what he said because they influenced pop culture quite a bit. I mean, where would we have been without them? That's what I say. And I'm not a first generation Beatles fan. I'm not a first generation. My mother's a first generation Beatles, but she's a big Elvis fan. And she liked the Beatles, but she liked them more over the years than she did when they came out. But she's a big Elvis fan. Elvis was the man for her and for a lot of people. And I like Elvis. I got most of his singles on some albums, but not a tremendous amount. But they loved him. They loved Elvis. Elvis was the king, and that's it. I mean, Chuck Berry called Elvis the king. So But it's just fun to talk about this stuff. It really is. It really is. And 45 is where it's at. There's so much fun to listen to. I have so many albums, but I love listening to albums. And 45s are really fun. But you guys have any favorite Beatles songs well, I know Rocky Raccoon. I know you like Rocky Raccoon. And I know you love the Beatles for Sale album, Andrew. I know you love that from beginning to end. Uh, and I have that record, of course. Um, and I like that because McCartney said that that whole album was basically the whole album was basically their live set. Well, not a lot of those songs were done live. A few of those songs on that album were done. Kansas City was done live. Mr. Moonlight was done live in the Hamburg days. Uh, but they never did it live, I don't think, in the United States. They did it, like I said, in the Hamburg days in Germany. And maybe even in the early days in London. I'm not sure. Live at the Star Club. Paperback, One After 909, Hey Bulldog. Oh yeah, Hey Bulldog. That's an underrated rock song that they did. And they included it on the Yellow Submarine album in the United States, even though the United States version of the film Yellow Submarine did not have it in there. The Hey Bulldog was only in the UK version of the movie. Roll Over Beethoven. Yeah, George does a great version of Roll Over Beethoven. Yeah, I mean, and his Chuck Berry intro is just amazing. I mean, I got to take Roll Over Beethoven, their version over Chuck Berry. I mean, I love Chuck Berry, but yeah, that is a Chuck Berry cover. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Roll Over Beethoven, Dig to These Rhythm and Blues, and they would do Roll Over Beethoven live a couple times, you know, and yeah, Roll Over Beethoven. There's a lot of covers. There's a few covers on Beatles for Sale. Honey Don't. Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, which is a great album ender or a great album closer. George singing a Carl Perkins tune, and Ringo doing Honey Don't, which was also a Carl Perkins song. And Carl Perkins was in the studio for when they were recording both of their versions of those songs. Carl was in the studio with them in '64. So even though Carl Perkins made those songs his, because he wrote them and sang them, but I love Every Little Thing that's on there. I love I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. That's the Beatles going Chuck. That's the Beatles going country rock right there. I don't want to spoil the party. What else? Like I said, Every Little Thing. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. 8 Days a Week. That's the Beatles for Sale lineup that I'm telling you about. What You're Doing is another one because there's 14 songs on that. And well, No Reply and I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, Rock and Roll Music, I'll Follow the Sun, those tunes. Um, my favorite album is always going to be Revolver, but I do like Beatles for Sale quite a bit. Quite a bit. I like that. And it was released as Beatles 65 over here. I think when I did a video once before, I put it, I talked about Beatles 65 versus Beatles for Sale. But Beatles 65 is what I heard first. And they had most of the songs from Beatles for Sale on it, except they substituted I Feel Fine and She's a Woman, which was a single in America. Kansas City, yeah, really good. Yep, yep. Their version is called Kansas City, Hey, 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 Hey. That's Little Richard's version of Kansas City, and the Beatles covered that. And I really think that my favorite era of the Beatles are always going to be towards the end of 1964. Of course, I love all the music, but towards the end of 1964 into the breakup 69, 70. But I think like three great years was 64 to 67. 64 to 67. Like A Hard Day's Night era into Magical Mystery Tour. Uh, and of course, you had, Hey Jude and Revolution after that, but that started a whole new era of the Beatles. I mean, they kept on outdoing themselves. It's like, okay, we did Revolver. Now we're leaving Revolver behind and we're going to work on Sergeant Pepper's now. It's like They were probably the best studio band that there was. But I mean, I told my mother, I said, things we said today off of A Hard Day's Night. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's on the UK version of A Hard Day's Night. It's on Something New on Capitol Records over here. Things we said today, which had some of the songs from A Hard Day's Night, like "Tell Me Why." I should have known better. No, I should have known better was not on that album. I'm sorry. I should have known better was on the A Hard Day's Night soundtrack. Uh, but I think that from '64, when they got into the folk, like "No Reply," "I'm a Loser," "Babies in Black," up until "Magical Mystery Tour," because they kept evolving after every record, you know. But I think they probably were the best studio band, once they got off the road. But McCartney said that getting off the road also kind of backfired because they missed performing live, and that's what the whole "Get Back, Let It Be" sessions were about, trying to get back to who they were playing live in the studio, and then getting it together and going on the roof. Well, they went on a rooftop. Once Ringo said, "I'd like to go on a roof," then they all made the decision. George didn't want to go on a roof. If you see the film, you know, I don't want to go on the roof. And Ringo's like, "I'd like to go on the roof." And they all looked at him, and then that was it. Once one of them said yes, they all said yes. If one said no, the rest of them said no. That's how it was. It was a democracy with them. Then when they had to go in their separate ways, they went their separate ways. But as far as solo recordings go, I don't have every single thing they did solo. That's the thing. Not everything by all four members. I don't have everything. I got the ones that I like to buy. I didn't. Paul or John in a boxing match. Who do I got? Oh my God. I think you answered your own question. Well, John grew up in a very. They all did. They all grew up in a very poor place. Liverpool. That was not like that was not like the sun and fun capital of England. That was like a Lower East Side New York is what it was, Liverpool. They used to get records from the United States coming over on ships. Some of them they'd steal. But I'd have to probably take John. I think because John was a fighter. John had that whole thing. Yeah, well, he had a lot of problems though, even before he joined the Beatles, even before he became a Beatle. I mean, he had a hard time with his mother and father. I mean, that's not a reason why he go beat the shit out of people. But I mean, he just, you know, to try to go and find love in his life, that was not easy at all. Deer Park, that's good water. Mm-mm. Yeah, he was a tough guy. He was a tough guy. I mean, he lived with his aunt most of his life, and then his mother got run over by a car as she was coming to the house to visit him. She was a free spirit, his mother. Wherever the wind blew, she went. So when he lost her, it really completely the way he lost her, and his father was nowhere to be seen. He left, and it's just that what happened to him was so senseless. I just don't understand it. I mean, you don't understand that when anybody gets murdered in cold blood, but I mean, 40 years old, no, that was just not right. That guy who's still in prison, and they put him up for parole every year, and they still deny him. I'm like, why are you even putting him up for parole? It's crazy. It's just nuts. It doesn't make any sense at all. You know, you just got to remember the music. That's it. Even George Harrison said it. He said about just enjoy my music and forget about the bad stuff that's happened. Just forget everything that, forget what you read about me, forget everything else. Just listen to my music. That's all I want you to do. That's it. Sad childhood, it sounds like. And yes, way too young and yeah, it was a sad childhood. It wasn't because he had to choose who he wanted to go with, his father or his mother. His father made him choose as to who he wanted to go with. Initially, I read that he ran with his father or ran down the street with his father, and then he just turned around and ran back to his mother. And his mother wasn't always there. You know, he left behind a big impact. Yes, he did. Musically, culturally. I mean, he had his faults. They all did. All four of them did. They all did. I mean, you could watch a woman on here. Her name is she's got a thing called Lawsland, and she's very big on the Beatles. And she's read the books, she's seen the films, she's had the music, but she's more into the in depth of the books than I am. I know what happened. I started reading that shit when I was 13, 14 years old. I could not believe the crap that went on. But the book I read was not really a book you want to start reading. It's called The Love You Make. And the title cannot be more further from the truth than what's in that book. There is no love in that book. Nothing. I borrowed that from a friend of my father's that he got from at work, and I read it. It was the paperback, and I was like, what? They cursed. They said the F word. The F word is all over the book. And I was like, God, what the hell? But McCartney even said that book's a piece of trash. He said it is. It's not even what the whole story was. And all of the biographies that they did before the Beatles did the anthology, Ringo said that they still haven't gotten it right. They still haven't gotten it right what the Beatles were. And even in the anthology, they're only showing you what the Beatles want you to see or what they remember. That's it. There's probably more that they remember, but they're only telling you what they want you to know. That's it. Or what like I said, what they remember. I mean, they were in their mid 50s, all of them, when they did the anthology. But that's pretty young to remember stuff too. But they didn't, what they want to tell you is what they want to tell you. That's it. And they made a fourth anthology collection on LP and CD. And I didn't buy it because I am not impressed by any of the tracks on there. I would not buy the fourth anthology. I have the first three. I would not buy them all over again. I would not. I mean, Anthology 4 has a take 11 of Baby You're a Rich Man, and I love that song, but I could hear take 11 of that on YouTube for free. It's not that much different. And to pick out Anthology 4 for like Anthology 4 for like however much it is. It's like a double album, but there's only like live stuff on it, if anything. And it's like, oh yeah, well, it's remastered, it's remixed, and the other three were remixed. I'm like, no, just stop remixing the same shit and give us the stuff that we want. Give us box sets of Magical Mystery Tour and Yellow Submarine with backing tracks and 5/1 mixes. That's what I want. You Never Give Me Your Money is a great song. That's Abbey Road. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Not technically. That is the last album they recorded, but it was not the last album that came out. The last album that came out was Let It Be. But after Abbey Road, they were considering doing another album. Now I'm hearing different things that they were gonna do another one after Abbey Road because Let It Be wasn't ready yet, or they couldn't find the right mix for Let It Be until they got Phil Spector involved, and then he put out his version of it. And it's for what came out, I think is fine. I mean, I don't, I have the box set of Let It Be with the Get Back and the bootlegs that the stuff that was unofficially released before, and it's how it could have wound up. I don't know, but the version that came out is what everybody bought. So, but Abbey Road, I mean, it could have ended that way completely. But John Lennon didn't want the Beatles to go out like a bunch of angels. He wanted people to hear them warts and all, so that's why Let It Be was put out, which McCartney did not want out. He didn't want that album out at all but he did pick up the Grammy for it when the Beatles won a Grammy for it. He was the only Beatle that was there to pick up the album, the Grammy. John Wayne actually did the honors of giving out the Grammy to Paul McCartney and Linda. They went in, picked it up, and then they walked out. They walked out of the awards. So he said, "Thank you very much," and he walked out because in 1971 at the 1971 Grammys, the Beatles were not really talking to each other. It wasn't cut and dry, but they weren't like exactly best pals like they used to be. Like they were, but you know, I didn't understand when I thought during Let It Be, I would take Clint Eastwood. I would take Clint Eastwood. Yep, I would. I would take John Wayne in a shootout, but I would take Clint Eastwood in a boxing match. I mean, you got to watch him in his Dirty Harry era. My God, you have to watch that. Definitely would take Clint Eastwood in a boxing match, but John Wayne in a gun duel. But you see, even then, if you've seen the movie um, A Fistful of Dollars, or For a Few Dollars More, or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I would want Clint Eastwood on my side. I really would. Clint Eastwood is a hell of an actor. My God, John Wayne was great. Clint Eastwood, great guy. Thing is, we just lost Chuck Norris the other night. As people were putting it on social media, and I said, did the Associated Press confirm that? Because once they confirm it, it's real. Chuck Norris is alive. We are all dead. So you're saying he's alive and we're all in limbo? Is that what you're saying? Chuck Norris was a great actor. Great martial arts guy too. If you've seen the movie with the battle between him and Bruce Lee, yeah, man, he's Chuck Norris. They used to joke that the boogeyman looks under his bed for Chuck Norris. Yeah, the MIA movies. Yeah, yeah, yep. I used to watch Walker Texas Ranger, but I remember Chuck Norris going on like the Tonight Show and showing how to defend yourself with karate. Very accomplished martial artist. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Bruce Lee, another one. You know, the only thing is back in 1978 when I used to go when we went for Christmas to look at to look at the tree. Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, but that people have said that when the boogeyman goes to bed at night, he looks for Chuck Norris under his bed. Yeah, yeah, there were the million Chuck Norris jokes back in the day. Yeah, yep. Hmm. Chuck Norris can unscramble an egg. Probably could too. Yeah, there was a movie when they did a battle together and Bruce Lee wins. I think he kills him at the end. That was a beardless Chuck Norris back then. But I remember going to see the Christmas tree in the winter of '78, and it was one of the first times I went to New York, and 42nd Street was not exactly the place you wanted to be. I mean, I looked at there was so many R-rated and X-rated films. I was like, ugh. I was like, oh boy. and all of the Bruce Lee films were rated R. I'm like, how am I supposed to watch this guy if I can't if I'm underage? But if you've ever seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Enter the Dragon, yeah, that was rated R. Enter the Dragon back then. I couldn't see it, but then again, I never asked my parents. So yeah, Sidekick too. Yeah, all right. Yeah, well, he was also in Silent Rage. That's a good one. Yep, he went back and did that. Yep, Sidekick. I saw that movie when you were in diapers. Oh yeah, you are older than me, aren't you? Yep. Yeah, when I was in diapers. If I only wish. No, I don't wish. Believe me, you guys are sick. Oh man. Hey, Aaron, I caught a glitch of when you made your drinks. I think it was for St. Patrick's Day. Just so you know, I went for a Shamrock Shake today. They ain't like they used to be. But then I got a small one, not a medium. There's more whipped cream. The ration of whipped cream for the shake is shake whipped cream. I mean, I like whipped cream. I do. I like whipped cream and other delights by Herb Alpert and the T1 at Herb Alpert's T1 Breads. I had such a big brunch today with my mom. I had a bowl of cereal before I left the house at 9 o'clock. Then I went to pick up my mom. We went to brunch, and then I had like the ultimate breakfast feast. I've only had it once. Like I could have like those feasts like once in a while. It came with pancakes, eggs, sausage patty, and home fries. That's the only time I've done that. That's the longest time I've had it because I was hungry. Let me tell you, I had a Sprite on the side. Like I don't drink like chocolate milk or anything like that anymore. You put chocolate milk on top of sausage, it's like no, it was good. It was good. Yeah, yeah. We went to brunch. Yeah. So I didn't eat anything after that. I said, well, I got to go get like dessert or something after that. So I went to the shop, record shop. Not much there today. Everything was 50% off, and I was like, nah. I practically have that entire store. Yeah, but I said I got to go out for some kind of dessert later on. I said, do they still got? I asked the guys in the shop. They still got Shamrock Shakes going on, being it's still March. He looked at it. He says, yeah, they still got them. I said, all right. So I went to McDonald's after that. I got myself a Shamrock Shake, a small one. They're like, you want small? What size? It's small. I don't have to do a whole medium thing. It's just like a treat. You know. As I've gotten older, I like mint a lot more than I did as a kid. You couldn't catch me eating mints as a kid. Thin mints, especially with the Girl Scout cookies, which are probably coming out now, right? Probably buy a box. Um, yeah, the Girl Scout cookies are coming this way, I think now. Oh yeah, because when I went to get my hair done, the place was selling them for $6 a box. Remember when they were $4 a box? What kind of ingredients are they making the cookies with now? They're $6. You housed some McDonald's yesterday. What did you house, if you will? Mint chocolate chip ice cream is pretty good. Yeah, yeah, I've had that. I've had mint chocolate chip. Yeah. What I have right now is the Neapolitan. I have Breyer's chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, which I think is probably the best natural ice cream that you can have, especially the vanilla with like the real vanilla beans in it. That's what I think is the best vanilla. I remember buying vanilla ice cream in New York as a kid, and sometimes it was yellow. It wasn't white. The best is the white with the vanilla beans. It's the Breyers. We used to go into the places that had the Briars sign that would be swinging up and down, and that's how you knew you got like the real ice cream in there. I like the Samoas. I do. Now, what's in the Samoas again? Are those the chocolate, caramel, coconut? No, those are the coconut delights. What are the Samoas? What are those? Because I like the peanut butter sandwiches with the peanut butter and the oatmeal cookies on the outside. I like the peanut butter patties with the chocolate and the peanut butter in them and the cookie. Shortbreads I buy from my mother. Um, the coconut caramel delights. I can have coconut, but coconut's got to be cut candy coconut. Oh, two McChickens and a four-piece nugget. It's good. Glad you like chicken. Sometimes I go into McDonald's, but I don't do it much anymore. The $5 deals, they give you like a McChicken sandwich, a four-piece nugget, fries, and a drink. And I'm like, that's so much shit. It really is. Because McDonald's food is not what it used to be. Oh yeah, caramel coconut on the top with stripes of chocolate. Yes, exactly. Keebler makes those kind of cookies. Yeah, with the center taken out. Yeah, exactly, Aaron. I know exactly where you're at. Yeah, yeah. But they used to call them with the oatmeal cookies on the outside and the peanut butter cream inside. It's so tasty. They got such a texture. And I like the mints now. I like the thin mints. I do. Because I like mint chocolate chip ice cream, or we used to call it chocolate chip mint when in New York, New Jersey. Chocolate chip mint, not mint chocolate chip. But I like that much more now, mint chocolate chip ice cream. I get like a sundae at like the local diner, with like a sundae with mint chocolate chip. But sometimes I don't put chocolate sauce on it. I put like caramel instead because chocolate. I try to not do too much chocolate. That's the thing. But when I want hot fudge and marshmallow topping and caramel, I'm gonna eat it. That's just the way it is. It's just it. People joke. They say until the doctor tells me it's time to stop, I'm not stopping. You know, they actually said to Paul Stanley of Kiss, they said to him, "You got to stop eating ice cream." He said, "Absolutely not." He said, I'm not stopping ice cream." Yeah, the Sunday is great. Yeah, but the deal is with the original Breyers mint chocolate chip ice cream, it's not green. It's white with the chips in it, and it's mint. It's like it's real mint ice cream because the color, the green color, is just coloring. You know, um, because when you open up the thin mints, right, or junior mint, the mint is white. Oh, cheese fries and gravy. All right. Yeah, cheese fries, gravy, and mint chocolate chip sundae. Sounds like a great delicacy. Hopefully not all at once, but cheese fries and gravy. I could go for a really nice thick steak. Not right now, but I mean, I love a nice petite filet mignon with a nice lobster tail on the side. I love it. Give me that. I went there. I went for my birthday. My mother took me. Um, we went and yeah, the petite lobster tail. And then my mother was like, "Do you want dessert?" I could not eat dessert. I could not touch it. I mean, I had rice pilaf on the side, plenty of bread, broccoli. Oh, the steak was great, and I love a queen cut prime rib. Mm-mm. With a lobster tail on the side. Yeah, thin mints, Aaron, are the ones that sell the most. Yeah, that's it. Well, we'll go for a steak when we go to New York. Of course, we'll both go broke if we get a steak there. Oh boy. I'm gonna have to cut down on a lot of high living if I go to New York and have a steak. Well, what's the classic cookie? The Thin Mint? Yeah, because it was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The question was, what is the highest selling Girl Scout cookie? And it was the Thin Mints. And the guy got the question wrong. How the hell you get that wrong? I don't know. But you know what I love? I love Junior Mints. My mother said to me, she got them up. She got them up where she is. That when she goes to like the country store where she is, she had 2 boxes of Junior Mints. I'm like, yeah, Junior Mints? When did you tell me you had Junior Mints? I was like, next time you go, I'll come up and I'll get the Junior Mints. They also have Junior Caramels. Same thing, only with caramel in them. And I'm like, but the best Junior Mints, I think you got to get them at Christmas time, are the ones with the red peppermint crunches on the chocolate and the mint on the inside. Oh baby, oh baby, it's got just the right texture with the crisps. Oh, you kidding? You know, I'd have to like have like 5 jobs in order to have a steak in New York. Oh boy. I tell you there's something though. When I worked for Equitable, I was taken to lunch in the Trump Tower. That's where the president took me to lunch. Oh yeah, but they only make them at Christmas, and they only put them like in an end, not an end cap, but like those cardboard things. You open up. They have them. They did have them in Weiss. I'm not looking at what the hell's the name of the place. Sheets. They would have them. Like when you walk in, there was the display. But I have not seen them in years. But I haven't been in Sheets in a long time. So that's a good. But Sheets also has like these fresh Krispy Kreme donuts. When you go in and you open up the lid and you take one of them glazed cream filled or chocolate cream filled. Oh, oh, I'm a bad boy. I'm a bad boy. Expensive meal to have in the city. Yeah, just the steak alone will be about $50. Never mind a side order of mashed potatoes and mushrooms and gravy. Lord knows where to get the gravy. They probably make the steak for you back there. They probably. I don't want to say that they killed the bull in the kitchen, but they probably do. Man, I'm telling you. Oh boy. Yeah, the Christmas ones really sound good. Don't they taste great? Oh yeah. Yeah, Aaron, I could take those things and pop them one after the other, one after the other. I mean, it's just the way it is. I could eat the whole box in 5 minutes. Same thing with Junior Mints. I'm sitting there, do 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 do. What tofu? What's tofu? The steak? Oh man, don't give me tofu. I had tofu. Oh god, that is shit. Tofu. They should just call tofu edible shit, is what they should call it. Yeah. You're laughing. Yeah. Yeah, but that's what they should call it. They should call tofu edible shit, is what they should call it. Because I had that for dinner at one of my mother's friend's house. And my mother said, I don't know why that happened because every time I was over there, it was steak. I'm like, I ate tofu. And I was like, what the hell am I doing eating this? With like some kind of Brussels sprouts on the side. And I was like, no, no, no. But I tell you what I do like as a side, I like asparagus. That's how Bugs Bunny says it. Asparagus. I love asparagus on the side as a side. Put Dip that in butter, and yeah, we're good to go. Tofu. But I think when all is said and done, I have the faith that we will have a Stanley Cup again. We will. You come close, and you're eventually going to get there. I mean, Edmonton went 2 years in a row against the same team, but I mean, I don't know if Florida just relaxed a little bit when they were up 3 games to nothing, or I don't know, or Edmonton was that good to come back and make it a 7 game series. But the last one, I mean, but I don't know. Florida's not the team to beat this year, you know. But I mean, you win 2 straight Stanley Cups. I mean, you're gonna have a lean year after that. All lean years if you don't keep up the team. That's like the Florida Marlins. They won 2 World Series and they dismantled the team twice right after that. I don't know why they never built to get themselves a dynasty. Because in Florida with the Marlins, it's all about money. It's not about winning a championship. So I mean, look at Messier, won 5 Stanley Cups. He knew what it took to win one, but they're not easy to win. The Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in any sport because you got to play 16 games. The next one after that is the World Series. You have to win 11 games. So, but hockey used to be like best out of 5, and then best out of 5, and then best out of 7. I do that all the time. What do you do all the time? Oh, you say that all the time. All right. No, I could say you made the mistake. The S and the D are both next to each other on the keyboard. Well, I still think that what do you say all the time that it's the hardest to win the Stanley Cup? Yeah, if that's what you're agreeing with me on, then yeah, I would say that is the hardest trophy to win. That definitely, without a doubt, it is. It's not an easy thing to do. After you play 81 games, 82 games a season, then you got to win 16. You know, well, like I said, in the early days, it was best out of 5, best out of 5. And in the early days, before either one of us was here or anybody in this chat was here, they used to win Stanley Cups on who scored the most goals, not who won the most games. We're talking like 1930, 1920s, 1930s. Whoever scored the most goals won, not how many games you won. It wasn't by games, it was by goals. Yeah, most physically tough. Yeah, it is. You got to have the big guys that play. That like guys like the big bad Bruins and the 1974-75 Flyers, and the best team that we had that could have brought home Stanley would have been the 1971-1972 season. If John Rattel didn't break his leg, then or his ankle, which was off of a slap shot of Dale Rolfe, he came back for the Cup Finals, but he was not the same player. I mean, they lost in 6 in 72, but they had the team in 71-72. They had the team in 70-71. I mean, how do you have a goalie and his backup share the Vezina Trophy and go out in the second round against Chicago? But what was really cool about that series against Chicago in the 1970-71 season was my parents were at game 6. And the Rangers were down 3 games to 2. And the Rangers won that game in triple overtime. At the start of triple overtime. Game ended at like 1 o'clock in the morning. My parents were both there in 70-71 for that game. Pete Stemkowski, scored the overtime goal. And then they extended the series to 7, but then they lost it. They lost it in Chicago Stadium in Game 7. They had a 2-1 lead in Game 7. The Rangers in Game 7, but they couldn't put Chicago away. They're just the teams that were tougher: Chicago Blackhawks, Boston Bruins, Montreal Canadiens. Those guys. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they always asked the Boston Bruins why the Rangers didn't win the Stanley Cup against them in '72. He said because we had Bobby Orr and they didn't. But Orr was a great. Yeah, it was an incredible series, Aaron. It was. I mean, they said literally Eddie Giacomo was standing on his head to keep the score tied into overtime in that game. The place went nuts when Stemkowski scored the goal. The place went crazy. Stemkowski, he said that didn't win the series, it only extended it to 7 games, but the Rangers have a lot of exciting moments in the history. Of course, the best is going to be the Stanley Cup. And you can forget those people that said that they were the New York Oilers when they won the Stanley Cup in '93, '94. We had 4 homegrown guys in that. Who was the most valuable player of the Stanley Cup playoffs? Brian Leetch. There was no member from the Oilers or from the Chicago Blackhawks. No, Brian Leetch won the MVP in that entire playoff series. Okay, you had Leetch, you had Richter. If it wasn't for Richter, we don't beat the Devils in Game 6. We don't beat the Devils in Game 6. Sure, the Devils had a 2-0 lead in Game 6, but then Richter just shut everybody down after that, and then he gave the Rangers confidence to go back and go ahead and win. I mean, Messier said without him, that game would have been 5-1 Devils. That's what it would have been. That's it. One player can make a difference, and Richter made the difference in that game. So you can't say that it was like Glenn Anderson or it was Craig McTavish that really, did anything for the team. I mean, they got grittier, they got bigger, but they did. Yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning were practically the Rangers when they went back to back. I know. And damn it, if I'll ever know why they got rid of Ryan Callahan, I don't know. And Ryan McDonough. I mean, you practically traded away the future of that team, is what you did. That's it. And the Rangers traded away their future players to get to win the Stanley Cup that year. They traded a lot of young guys that could have won cups for like the next 5 years, but they were built for 1 year. That was it. It was go in, win the Stanley Cup, and who the hell knows what happens afterward. I talked to somebody who was an intern for the New York Rangers. He said after the '93-'94 season, they did not have it in them to win another cup. They were not psyched to win another one. They just rested on that laurel after that. Made the playoffs a few more years, but closest they got was against Philly in the 3rd round, Eastern Conference Finals, when Gretzky was there in the '96-'97 season. That was it. That was the closest they got with Messier after the '94 Cup. And people were asking me, are you excited? And I said, about what? About Gretzky coming to the Rangers. I was not excited about that. I wound up winning Gretzky's jersey in a raffle, but to me, Gretzky's never going to be a New York Ranger. It's not. And some people say that was my favorite Ranger. I'm like, he was Edmonton, then he was Los Angeles. He came to the Rangers because he wanted to play with Mark Messier again. That was it. And Graves. That was it. Gretzky was not a cup winner then. Again, we got him past his prime, and that it was a stupid move, I think. Did I cheer for him when he scored? Yeah, and I actually cheered for Alex Rodriguez when he hit a home run. When we needed him to hit the home run. Yeah, sure I did. Yeah, there were clutch moments, but I'm like, I was not a huge Alex Rodriguez fan, and I never will be, and I was never a big Wayne Gretzky guy. I mean, he had 4 other guys helping him out to get his stats. Meanwhile, he says stats are for losers. I'm like, really? Come on. You're saying stats are for losers, and look at you with the most points. Cut it out. If he didn't win any Stanley Cups, that's probably why he'd be saying that. But They had Marty McSorley, Adam Graves, all these guys. We never won a cup with them. That was to fill the seats, Andrew. That's what I think. I saw Gretzky play with the Rangers. I actually saw them play Vancouver when Messier was there. When he went to Vancouver, he came back to the Rangers. They showed a few clips of him, and I think he was upset on the bench, but he had a breakaway on Richter, and I think he deliberately did not score when he had a breakaway on Richter. I think he just shut it and went up the grounds. I don't think he wanted to score on him. I don't think he did. That was something to see Messier, but I did see Messier with the Rangers too. So in a playoff game, they were against Montreal in 95, 96. Yeah, the Rangers were down two games to nothing against Montreal. They lost the first two at the Garden, won the next three. Eh, no, the next two in Montreal, and I went to see Game Five, and they won Game Five at the Garden. And then I think they went back to Montreal for Game Six. I did see Richter play. It was amazing to see him play. I mean, my parents had Jockerman and John Davidson and Stephen Baker and guys like that. Then had Julius Graton, who was an absolute nut job, who used to have a lion's mask. I mean, you know, that was 76, 77, where the team was. The 2014 season killed you a little, yeah. But I'll tell you something, Andrew. When they made the Stanley Cup final that year, I was overwhelmed with it. I was sitting on the floor when I had the games on my TV. I'm sitting down and I'm saying they're in the Stanley Cup Finals. I can't believe this. 20 years later, they were in the Stanley Cup Final, and I'm like, I actually knew, I knew it that the Kings were going to be tough. I knew it, and the Rangers had two goal leads in like two of those games. They had a 4-2 lead in like two games in LA, and they couldn't put it away. They won one game at the Garden. Two or three of those games went to overtime or double overtime. So, and now we have Quick. Now we have Quick after his prime. We have Quick. Yeah, funny how that works out. I like Quick. I do. I do like him. But I don't know if it's a thing of the goalies, the two of them, Igor and him, just not having it, or is it just the team is terrible? I mean, I understand when we have conversations on the stream that the goalie, you got to have a good team in front of you, but the goalie's got to make the saves in the end. I mean, but even when Igor was making all those saves a couple of years ago in the playoffs, people were pissing on that because it was like the Rangers were giving up 50 goals a game, 50 shots a game. Don't matter. If you got one goal more than the other at the end of the game, you win. That's it. You could have 100,000 shots. If that team has one more goal than you, that's it. That's all that counts is the scoreboard, not how many shots on goal. Yeah, don't care. So they were outshot 50-27 when they played Carolina that year. Who cares? Igor was the man then. And, goalies win games. I mean, look at Dominik Hasek. He won one cup in his life. The man was one of the greatest goalies ever, Dominik Hasek. I loved Beezer. I love Van Beesbrook. I don't think he made 50 saves a game. But, I mean, he was great. I think Igor been solid this year. Rangers just dog water, 30 dog water. Yeah. Well, Igor, I just think that first round at home that we lost all those games, they had chances to win all those games. It's not like they were out of it in all of those games because it was a goal differential, one goal, two goals maybe. But then you start getting shut out in your own home building. That's no excuse at all. Now look at what happened with Columbus. I just read it today. 17-2-4 since they hired the interim coach. They were in last place at the beginning of the season, out of a playoff spot. Now they're in the third spot for the playoffs in the conference. A coach can make a difference. It happened with the Pittsburgh Penguins. There was one year when they were terrible. Excuse me. In the beginning of the season, they fired a coach. They win the Stanley Cup that year. There has to be something that changes that. Because the coach has to come in and know what he's got. That's the thing, and work with what he's got and put the lines together the right way to see who gels and who doesn't gel. You don't gel with this guy, you put him here, or you sit his ass down. That's it. This is hockey 101. I don't play the game except on the Wii, but I don't play the game and I'm seeing what I'm seeing. You know? No, the Rangers don't understand that. A smart front office helps the team win, but the players have to win the game. I understand the front office. You could have the best front office. We could have Messi in the front office. What happens? We could go under 500 the next 5 years. That's right. He had Crosby, Malkin, and Letang when they won those cups. And all Sullivan had to do was go like this and watch the play unfold. He didn't have to do nothing. It was like Joe Torre when he got the. Well, I love Joe Torre. But when Joe Torre had those teams on the Yankees, he didn't have to do nothing. He'd sit there and eat sunflower seeds and watch it. Just put the bullpen when the bullpen needed to be put in. Lights out with the bullpen. Well, Joe Stanton, Mike Stanton, put him in. He was throwing heat. Then you had Jeff Nelson who would throw heat, and then you put the ball in Mariano Rivera's. Sometimes you need to put the ball in Mariano Rivera's hands. Let Nelson finish it. Hell, let Stanton finish if you're giving him scoreless innings. You need to have the team that's going to gel. That's it. You take them out of the for 4 games, we weren't in the funk. They looked like they were having fun, and they looked like they knew how to score, and they looked like they know how to play defense. They played those 4 games. They played well in front of Igor. They were clearing pucks out. They weren't getting second shots. And it's like, oh, but 50 shots a game. Oh, well, they really weren't good against whoever they beat. I'm like, you don't got to be that. You don't got to be great. You got to be great when you have to be. That's it. Yeah, Crosby. I know. I knew Crosby when Crosby was coming into the NHL. I knew it when he was a baby. Not a baby. I don't want to start in with that stuff. But when he started out, I knew that kid was going to be special when he started. I knew it. Complained to the ref a lot, and I didn't like that. If he kept his cool and he didn't always look to get a break, I would like him a lot. But I got respect for the guy. I did when he started, and I knew this guy's fast, this guy's tough. I knew he was going to win. Well, crybaby Crosby. All right. Well, yeah. Well, he'd never shut up. I mean, just go out there, play the damn game if you know you're good. That's all. Who's not going to argue with the referee? But I mean, just do what you got to do. Go in there, play the damn game, and that's it. People are going to chirp at you. Yeah, well, you paid $11 million a year. You could take chirping. Not that it's not going to bother you. I mean, you're only human. But oh no, not my name. That's what they call him. Yeah. Well. Yeah. There was a time when he thought he was 11 million. You can fart in my dinner. Okay. Well, was going to have a snack before I went to bed. I'm thinking twice about that now. 11 mil. Yeah. Yeah. Well, or you can eat farts. Nobody has to fart. Just start off that way. $11 million. That's what Igor's getting. We should have cups galore with a goalie like that. At least three. I mean, give me three cups. I'm fine. Don't do nothing. All you got to do, you beat the Devils to get well. I mean, we love Allie, so um, win a cup. I don't care what happens. I don't care. Oh, 94, never cut the crap. All right, because it's not going to be never four. It's not going to be never four, never more. Because we're winning one. That's it. Not this year, but we only have four cups. That's right. Yeah, we only have four. 100 years we've been around. I know. I know. I know. The Flyers are working on. The Flyers for over 50 years haven't won a cup. And look at Toronto Maple Leafs. They haven't won since Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Toronto Maple Leafs in their day was good. They have the longest streak. Well, we won a cup in 30 years ago. 32 years ago. See, this whole one cup since World War II bullshit, I don't get it. Yeah. 62 years. 61 years. No. 59 years they haven't won a cup. 1967 to 2026. It's almost 60 years. Next year will be 60 years they don't have a cup. And Toronto was a pretty big team in its day. And so it was another big wall that the Rangers had to jump over. To go that far and drought without a cup, I mean, it's well, like I said, it's the hardest trophy to win, but there are guys that are built to win a cup. That's basically it. That's how it is. That's how it is. Yeah, go. I'm heading out too. It's time for me to go. Yeah, I gotta get going myself. But thanks for everything, guys. Thanks for coming in, Aaron. I guess I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night, whenever the next game is. I'll catch a little bit of it at least. Um, Thanks for coming in. I really had a great time tonight. I hope you guys did too. Aaron, if you're still there, have a great night. Uh, Thanks, Aaron. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna hit the bed in a little bit. It's 12 afternoon. 12 tomorrow? Okay. Well, I'll put the wash in and then I'll tune in. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. At least I know that tomorrow. All right. Early game tomorrow. Who do we got and where? I think we're home for the next two, right? Peace out, brother. Have a great night. It's the Jets at the Garden. Okay. Well, this is a day game. I wonder if they're up for a day game. 12 o'clock matinee. If they're not too tired. Huh, boy. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Peace. Enjoy the music. Hope you enjoyed it tonight. I had a great time doing it. So thumbs up for all of you guys. Peace. I love you. Stay safe and do something nice for yourself every day. And remember, a whisper of the word will let you sow it your soul.